Texas touchdown, we bout to get lit. My team in the whip, we up in this bitch. I'm feeling tipsy, feel like 50. Find me in the club, roll deep with 50. So pass the whiskey, till it's empty. Do something done when my team is with me. So call the MPs, you might need the MPs, fuck it. You might need more than MPs, why? I'm chilling with my bros and my bros know what to do when they gotta go down. With the army's army, and you might not like the road, you gotta go down. Yeah, so priceless. Make room in the room when I walk in the building, and you can like it or not. No fucks, no feelings, let's go. Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, somebody better let us in. Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in.
Bottles on me, drink till it's gone. We're here to have a good time, get carried away. Cigars on fire, celebrating that life. We're here to have a good time, get carried away.
Oh yeah, we're here to have a good time, and I'm only warming up. My team got my six, they got me, and nothing in here can stop me. We bout to get rude, we sloppy. One more drink, double on the Bacardi. Go big or go home. That's the code the bros know. And everyone thinking we're local now. We just call it normal, yeah. Before I black out, I'ma toast to the dead. And my friends that died at war, I promise I'ma just represent. This is one I dedicate to everyone alive that's a vet. I'm going hard, cause ain't no other way to give you my best. I'm going hard. Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, somebody better let us in. Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in.
Bottles on me, drink till it's gone. We're here to have a good time, get carried away. Cigars on fire, celebrating that life. We're here to have a good time, get carried away.
And I mean, I was scared.
Oh, we go.
Say you weren't scared over there. You're a liar. It's not that I didn't want to be here. I just didn't want to die. They played Russian roulette, basically. But like I said again, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, somebody better let us in. Yeah, I've been in combat, I'm a fucking veteran. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in. Bottles on me, drink till it's gone. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in. We're here to have a good time, get carried away. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in. Cigars on fire, celebrating that life. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in. We're here to have a good time, get carried away. Showed up with my whole squad, you better fucking let us in.
Welcome back, Wolfpack. Dire Wolf here for a weekly news recap. Behind enemy lines on YouTube where speech is not free and the truth is demonetized. Along with me is my co-host and producer, Fox Trevize. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Overworked, underpaid, but happy.
That's how I'm doing.
So, we have something in common.
There we go.
All right. Hey, I want to thank everyone who makes this show possible. Thank you, rather. Because this thing wouldn't happen if it weren't for you guys. So, big thank you for everyone who likes, shares, subscribes, helps share us, helps us grow. Also, thank you for watching us on an off day when we're doing our Saturday show on a Sunday with little notice. This is totally Fox's fault. So, also,
Yes.
big thank you to those who have donated to us financially. That really helps out a lot as well. Those include, but are not limited to, Ori Main, Nathan, Cameron, Tetris Freak, Slowpoke, Thunder Erican, who is female, by the way, Krieg Blackpaw, and the White Lion. Also, special thank you to Timberwolf for your donations and also boosting us on the Discord server. Much
appreciated. That was my line. How dare you?
Sorry, I'll try to take your lines anymore. Sorry that I also appreciated Timberwolf. I know you couldn't both appreciate him at the same time.
Well, now you know.
So we got a less structured show for you guys today, just because we feel like it.
Well, and in addition to that, a little disclaimer is there was a lot of news this week, and we even skipped a day of normally doing news coverage. So just because what we covered is what we covered, there's a lot of stories that we wanted to cover, but we only have 2, sometimes 3 hours to do it. We don't have all day. Or we're not pumping out, 3 or 4 hours of content every day. So there's a lot of stories in here that we just didn't get to. Not necessarily because we didn't want to, but that's why we recommend to mix up your news sources.
And all you can talk about is money
Slowpoke
and fairy tales of eternal economic
giving us
growth.
$2.
How dare you?
And something about me, great. For $2, Slowpoke says, Foxman, post these delays and announcements instead of show chat, or else people won't know it. Next time I'll make you my 4th Dyer, and your gay ass won't like any moment of it. I didn't know that he had 3 other Dyers. Is he cloning you, Dyer? Did you send him something that he could pull DNA off of? That's gross. Slowpoke, I will do my best to post it in announcements, but we do have admins. And the whole point, I think it's a universally understood that YouTubers, to the extent that I can call us that, when we have admins on our Discord server, it's pretty common that the people on the show don't know what they're doing with the Discord. So that's what the admins are for. If you think I should put it in announcements, feel free to move it there. You have my blessing. I will try to do better next time, though. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for the $2. Much appreciated.
Much appreciated. Damn it!
I don't know. Did I steal that from you, or did you steal that from me? I can't remember. Chat, who stole much appreciated? I think I said it first. I think that's my line. In general, I think you're stealing it from me.
I am. I'm sorry.
This is weird. I pick up Dyerisms, and then now Dyer's picking up Foxisms. At some point, I don't know. Feedback will just be the same person. That's scary.
This is scary. Yeah. God damn it.
Dyer's going to become a fox. All right. I think we got a funny video to start off with.
We do. And it's less funny. It's more poignant.
What happened to it? I had it up. I lost it.
All right. So this is basically is a Trump supporter, or possibly not someone who just doesn't like Trump, or doesn't like Trump, but just someone who seems to have a positive opinion compared to over to the Democrat Party. And this guy is going to go over the history of racism in America.
Is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How
see
dare you?
Slowpoke says, tell one of us. It doesn't work when the admins are not aware of what we're doing. Talk to us, man. We will talk to you. But
okay,
you could move one of my chats over. It's okay.
So there's a lot of talk about
Thank you for the $2, though.
The history of racism in America, right? And this one guy is going to clear up some misconceptions about the history of racism that has existed, and what party it's come from. Let's hear from him.
All right.
It's time to be honest about the history of black people in the Democrat Party. I've been hearing a lot of lies. Who is the party of change? Who is the party of racism? Let's set the record straight once and for all. You ready? Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. Lincoln wanted to free the slaves. Democrats fought a war to keep their slaves. Republican President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all slaves in America. Democrat slave owners were furious. Lincoln made equality for all black people part of the official Republican Party platform. Republicans wrote and passed the 13th Amendment, ending slavery forever in the United States. Most Democrats voted against it. Republicans wrote and passed the 14th Amendment, and granted citizenship and equal protection under the law to former slaves. No Democrats voted for it. Republicans wrote and passed the 15th Amendment, allowing Black Americans the right to vote. No Democrats voted for it. The first Black senator was a Republican. The first Black member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a Republican and former slave. In fact, the first 23 African American members of Congress were all Republican. While Republicans were electing Black people to Congress, the Democrats were founding the KKK. The KKK was founded in opposition to the Republican Party. The KKK dedicated itself to a campaign of violence against Republican leaders and voters, both Black and white. The KKK wanted white supremacy fulfilled through electing Democrats. Democrat states passed racist Jim Crow laws that dehumanized Black people. Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower sent the National Guard to protect Black students, integrating into all-white schools in Little Rock, Arkansas. Who opposed this? The Democrats who ran that state. A segregationist Democrat ran for president every cycle until the 1980s. The Civil Rights Act outlawed discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, or sex. By percentage, more Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Act than Democrats. Republican President Nixon used federal powers to desegregate even more states. Black Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, nominated by George H.W. Bush. His son, George W. Bush, started an AIDS program that saved over 13 million lives, mostly in Africa. President Trump restored funding to historically Black colleges and universities. President Trump passed the First Step Act, achieving landmark criminal justice reforms. President Trump passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which featured opportunity zones incentivizing long-term investments in low-income communities. Under President Trump, unemployment for Black Americans fell to the lowest number Americans have ever seen, and Black wages rose to the highest numbers in history. Meanwhile, Democrat Governor of Virginia wears blackface multiple times and remains in office while Joe Biden tells me I am not Black unless I vote for him. So tell me, who are the real racists? Who wants to keep you in bondage? Be free. Live free. That is my right as an American.
Boom.
Boom. So keep that in mind anytime you hear the argument that the Republicans are the party of racism, and anytime they are talking about systemic racism and a history of racism, it's yes, there is a history of racism on the Democrat Party. All the way up to 1980, they had on their platform racist policies that they now claim to be opposed to. I mean, even the politicians that like Biden that they are putting forward as a politician that they're as the leader of their party today has advocated for policies that they all say are racist now.
But Dyer, what about the big switch? Didn't all the old Republicans, all the good ones, didn't they all switch to the Democrat Party?
A complete myth. Complete myth.
Oh no, that is actually a complete myth. So Dinesh D'Souza, I forget which movie it was that he put out. I think it might have been the one just before the last election. I think it was that one, but he went through and did the kind of the secret history of the Democrat Party, and he set out and analyzed deeply all of the Democrats before civil rights, all the Democrats after, all the Democrats before the Civil War, all the Democrats after, and there just was no big switch up. There was no renouncing of the Democrat or of the Republican Party to go to the Democrat Party or vice versa. There wasn't any of that. The Democrats were always the Democrats. They've always been about slavery. They were always part of the KKK. They always were segregationists every time. The Republicans, to the extent there was, it was more hit or miss, but the Democrat Party as a platform has been around slavery and racism.
Like 4 years ago, they had a heartfelt funeral for a member of a Democrat member of the House who died of old age and medical issues related to that. And everyone forgets that guy that they were saying was an esteemed Democrat House representative who served his country with distinction was a member of the KKK. At one point, he was, as a good Democrat, a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, and they say that Trump's a racist because he doesn't want illegal immigration, but is totally fine with legal immigration. They call him racist, yet they don't say the Democratic Party has a racism problem when they speak so glowingly of Klansmen.
Yeah, but he was one of the good ones.
And vote them in. One of the good Klansmen.
Yeah. Well, sorry about that switch up, guys. A finger slipped there a bit. Trevor's helping me out. He said it was Death of a Nation. That was Dinesh's movie that kind of runs through the secret history of the Democrat Party. It's a really good movie. He went through and had a lot of kind of exposés on history that I would love to have seen a little bit more in depth on, of the first blacks on certain issues, certain things. He went through some really great stories of, back even in the early 1900s, there was examples of blacks in northern states that were able to become business moguls, and it showed that there wasn't this crazy system, and that it'd be great if we could, throughout history, focus on those where they were able to achieve the American dream. And as we've progressed through history, as civil rights has marched on, and we've opened that up to be less and less rare, it would be much more inspirational to have the focus be on, not to forget the bad stuff that happened, but have the focus on, hey, all this bad stuff happened, and look at these people, look at what they did despite all that. The story of Aunt Jemima, which I think we're all becoming Aunt Jemima experts now, that we're all learning what's happening, what she did before her syrup and pancake mix is now gone. But I learned this week that the image of Aunt Jemima was based off a real person, and it was her pancake mix. She was born a slave, was freed, and became one of the first black millionaires, and had this really great success story of literal rags to riches, doing very inspirational to have been born a slave and then die a millionaire. That is for all the worst parts of that story, that is the American dream, and the America, for all of its not living up to the original intent of the founders, and trying to rectify that throughout history. That's a very inspirational story, but now we've erased that, and maybe it would have been nice for the company. I think it was that Quaker that owned that. Maybe it would have been nice for Quaker to come out and say, hey, we're keeping this, but what we're going to do is maybe re-release the marketing material, and have some explanations as to like who this person was, why it's important to remember her, why it's inspirational, and maybe turn that into a learning moment instead of just saying, yeah, it's racist. Who was that person? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's just forget about her and throw her away. And that's what the Democrats are trying to do all over the place, and what they've been doing for a long time is they don't want to talk about those success stories. They don't want to talk about. I mean, even you'll have not Kanye now, but Kanye previously, and there's a lot of other prominent black artists that are multi-millionaires, and instead of looking at how great that is and that they could not have accomplished that in any other country, they say we still had racism. Like, okay, well, we did, but what do we got now? Let's look at what we got now.
Yeah, and it's pretty rich of the Democrats to say that the Republicans are the party of racism when they still to this day are advocating for segregation. But they advocate for segregation on the basis that they think that black people need their own separate spaces. They want to divide society and they say it's for the sake of black people. No longer is it for the racist reason of wanting to keep white people separate from black people. No. It's so we can keep the black people separate from white people, because it's to keep the black people safe from the white people. But they're still advocating for segregation, as in colleges and black-only spaces. You haven't changed.
That was the argument of slave era segregation. The entire idea behind slavery was that some of the political theory of the day was that blacks were, they were obviously, well, at the time it seemed that they were saying that it was obvious that they were sub to white people, and that they just couldn't handle the rigor of civilized life. They wouldn't have even enjoyed it. And that is kind of what the Democrats are saying now. It's like, well, the black is just not capable of living in a society with rules and laws. It's too burdensome for them, and it's cruel as white saviors to inflict upon them this idea of civilization and culture and rule of law. Yeah. They're just not capable of doing it. And you see they've got a different veneer on it now, but the core of the idea is that there's something fundamentally missing about black people that is not as good as white people. And the white culture is just not able to, blacks cannot handle it. And so therefore they need their own spaces.
You can see that in their philosophy of how they deal with different problems and what solutions they prescribe. So they say, black people show up late to class all the time. Well, they shouldn't be held responsible. It shouldn't affect their grade that they show up late to college classes, because they don't have the same concept of time. They can't do what us white people do and manage a schedule and have deadlines. Poor black people, they can't do that. So they shouldn't be penalized they shouldn't be held to the same standard that white people are. And it's the racism of low expectations. They're saying that you can't hold black people up to the standard of white people because they're just not that good. They justify the violence from black groups of people, like the rioting. They say, oh, well, that's how they express themselves. That's how black people are. It's the just response for what's happened to them.
Be gone from me, you soy boy beta cock. The transaction is complete.
The Democrats are tearing down the past. They tear down statues. They tear down pancake syrup. They have to memory hole it all. The past is dangerous to the present because it informs people and keeps them from being brainwashed by emotions.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I was getting there too.
Good job for you scooped Dyer on that for 10
Yeah,
bucks.
you got to where I was going with that.
Thank you.
It's no wonder that the Democrats want to erase history, because just a cursory look at history through an objective lens, you can see that they are the party of racism, and that their policies and their quote unquote solutions are not solutions at all, and that they are born and steeped in racist ideology. They believe that white supremacy has a hold in America because it has a hold on their belief system. They believe it of us what they think. It's a common psychological malady where when you often assume of other people the way you think.
Yeah. And the intent previously, in historic times, was meant for them to keep and retain their power. They had this whole class of people that they were lording over. And I'm sure that the Democrats of old enjoyed that as much as the Democrats of current enjoy lording over their subjugates. But nowadays, there's just there's something different about the world today, just because there's so many more people. Like, there's just actually like a physical count, so many more people. And so one of the things that it's more difficult now when you're trying to get power is there's a lot more. You can't just have the entire Democrat Party take power. There's too many of them. It wouldn't be fun for the ones at the top, because they'd have to share that with so many extra people. And my kind of theory on it is to achieve kind of for the people at the very tippy top of the Democrat Party and on leftism, what they're really looking to go back to is something that's kind of similar sized as the 18 and 1700s. That much power that concentrated into a smaller number of people. And so what do they got to do with all the rest of us? Well, instead of having a slave class of minorities that they can lord over, they are now pitting the other groups against each other, and that's going to be how they're retaining power. So instead of just lording over minorities now, they're going to be using them to try and I don't know if it's going to be civil war, but they're certainly using a political battle against the majority here, and there's a lot of memes about that. I think about the black and white arm, doing the grabbing the handshake thing, saying this is their worst nightmare is everybody kind of teaming up or having the the black militia guy standing next to the white militia guy, and they both are kitted out, defending a statue, saying this is what makes the Democrats scared the most. And I think that's true. I think obviously it's all meant to divide us. And I think that's the purpose of dividing us, is to make sure that the small group at the top can keep power over top of the rest of us.
Yep. Completely agree with that. So that was our funny video.
Alrighty. Well, our next story, our first story, is I think like the same thing again. Let's should we watch the video first, or do you want to intro it a little bit?
Yeah, I'll intro it. So the topic of this story is that CNN lies about a black Trump supporter. CNN claims that there was unrest in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in this their story, they published a picture of a black man who looks angry as an example of one of the supposed rioters that were happening at the location of Trump's rally. So they're trying to kind of, I don't know, scare people off or make people feel like Trump's rally was had a lot of rioting going on around it, right? The problem was the picture they took, and the black man they took a picture of, well, he wasn't actually a rioter or anti-Trump.
Oh, no.
So he actually had a reporter come up to him later on and interview him about that, and he had some choice words about CNN and how they portrayed a picture of him. Let's watch the video.
Yeah, let's listen.
On your investment, you think President Trump was the best for America?
Where I was, I solely stand where I was in 2016. I don't change it. I don't walk by. But you just mentioned the news. So someone sent me this clip with me on CNN sometime this morning saying the unrest is here. And I've been here for 5 days.
What type of unrest are you?
I don't know what it means. So the news
misbehaving.
Well, the news is saying there's so much unrest in Tulsa, and it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
It's been calm all over the city, and we've been all across the city.
You haven't been unrestful at all. I'll read it. Tulsa braces for clashes. COVID-19 risk at. Wow, and look at the photo they got of you. We need to let's get the camera on that. That is not ethical journalism. I mean, they just have you looking angry.
Right.
Like you want to riot. How did that make you feel when you saw that?
Hey, man, it's the media. You get up, and that's why you have to know who you are. And so I've turned them down maybe 7 times for interviews. Maybe it was a chance to take a shot.
It pisses me off looking at that.
Yeah, it's okay. Your message, if your message is genuine.
But they're supposed to be the news network that supports African American communities. They come out here, take a photo of you, and basically make you look like a rioter at a Trump rally.
Then people see me and I'm smiling all the time. They know what's wrong. So,
one of your first people I've seen in every
Everybody this presidential award he got.
Jeez, that
Just
makes me angry
behind
too. That makes me angry too. She's sitting there saying, that makes me angry, and I get that kind of visceral reaction too, because you see it so often, but sometimes it's really clear cut. We talk about this a lot, where sometimes we'll show, like last week when Cuomo was saying, these stats prove that Trump's economy is racist, and the stats on the screen say 2016. Sometimes it's very, very obvious that they're lying in real time, and sometimes it's less obvious, but like when it really hits like that, it's so infuriating, because these are real people. I mean, this almost brings me back to Covington, where they're using real people, and they're making stuff up whole cloth.
Yeah, it's a little peek behind the curtain, isn't it? And it's funny because Trump had a video later on where he was talking about how CNN and other news sources will use framing and selective cuts and will misrepresent events by, manipulating video or pictures, or just completely lie about what the pictures represent. Such as take a picture of a guy who's pro-Trump, who's happy and not rioting, and say he's an example of violence in the streets, right? Which, by the way, there's plenty of violence in the streets in Democrat cities right now that they could be actually talking about. But no, they take a picture of a peaceful guy who's just waiting for the Trump rally and say that he's rioting,
Well, I thought there wasn't any riots. I mean, come on, what's going on here? But CNN's got that is.
It's only a writer.
That's actual racism, right? To go and try and find a picture of an angry black man, and then you're gonna go pretend like that's actually. I mean, that's some like peak like slavery, civil rights era journalism right there. Is try to find like the angriest black man you can, plaster it everywhere, and try and scare the white people, saying like, hey, this is they just really don't like Trump. Yeah, it's just disgusting.
It is disgusting. I completely agree with you. So
hopefully someone like Tucker picks him up. Tucker's been good at picking up the pieces that CNN leaves behind of the fake news.
Right. So Trump recently published a meme where he took the old black and white toddler meme where they give each other a hug, and he showed first a clip of was it Costa?
Yeah.
Saying, this is only it was going to happen eventually, and
no.
Showed
so those were actually two different things. Those were two separate things.
Okay, sorry. So showed the black toddler chasing after the white toddler, right?
Yeah.
Or other way around, was it?
No. So okay, I'll look it up. I'm trying to explain.
Sorry, it was the white one chasing the black one. Anyways, he put it with like a CNN header saying that this was a racist white toddler, blah blah blah, and then basically false framing what was happening. And then later on, the clip showed that the two toddlers were hugging and they were sharing candy. Yeah, here it is. It was basically showing a ridiculous example of how CNN will falsely frame a story. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a different one that you were talking about, which I'll look that up too here in a second. It was a campaign ad. Yeah. So this is a pretty common meme video. Compre Dunctum made it. Dunctum. There we go. But yeah, it's usually meant to be like kind of funny. And that's what Trump was trying to show, is that the framing of this video, the real video, was that the black and white baby ran up to hug each other, and the joke is that the way CNN would have framed it is the black baby running from the white guy chasing him.
Right. So if you had only shown the first part, that would be not showing what really happened. That would be manipulating the video, right? But Trump showed intentionally showing the false framing of what was happening as an example of how CNN treats stories every day about him and the news, right? And then he showed what really happened and how the truth, the reality of the situation is often not what CNN is showing you. They went on to say that this meme was manipulated propaganda and that it was crude and misleading editing. No, it was not. They showed exactly the truth of the story. They manipulated it only in the sense that they showed the false framing as an example of how you actually do false frame stories, which we have a recent example of, how you falsely frame the picture of that black man saying that he was part of unrest in the streets when he was not. So he was accurately describing CNN, but CNN actually brought on the parents of those two toddlers and is trying very hard to make it seem like Trump was abusing these kids or was making false propaganda for calling out them for their daily lies and misleading stories that they publish.
Breaking news on Direwolf Media This is the tweet that Trump had of the toddler video. Let me show up on the screen here. Let me refresh this. So this was supposed to be the toddler video, and I actually can't play it.
Yeah. So it was been taken off of Twitter, but also it was taken off of Facebook. Oh, sorry, it was not taken off of Facebook. It was flagged as... Oh, it used to be flagged as manipulated media on Twitter.
Yeah.
So Twitter was acting as a publisher and saying that by putting editorial statements on Trump's tweet, but not only did they do that, they actually chose to remove it, further making them someone who's picking and choosing what political opinions can be shown. Thus, they're publishing, not just being a platform. I'm sure this won't result in some backlash for them later on legally.
Yeah. So I got pulled up the other video that you were talking about that had Acosta in it, and Acosta did not like this. So this was another. Well, actually, this was a campaign video. This wasn't a meme video, but it did a similar thing where it was showing how it was a more professional version of what Carpe Dunctum did, which we'll watch it here in a second. But Acosta did not like this because they pulled some clips of him into there. We'll go ahead and watch this real quick because that's the other one that you were talking about there, Dyer.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right here on the left. Actually, the road's closed, so you can turn around in the driveway at the bottom of the hill. Have a good night.
Face to face with 16-year-old high school.
You serious right now?
Go! Keep going! Go! Keep going! Go!
Really, it was just a matter of time before we saw something like this, and I'm really surprised that we haven't seen something worse.
People always ask, what does it mean to make America great again?
Man, heart's like the stone, man.
You try to give you a push?
Yeah, please, man. I appreciate it.
All right, look, here's what we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna push, don't hit the brakes at all. You just gotta keep going. It means to make America a better place than it was the day before.
So I want to point out, too, that Acosta, in a press conference with the press secretary, Acosta got upset saying that this never happened. Acosta thought that Trump was posting this as though it was a real news story that actually happened. And Acosta was like, that's fake news. I didn't actually do a report on that. Are you, is he mentally disabled that he thought Trump posted this as trying to convince people that this was a real news story that actually happened? that somehow Trump, had, the video footage of the guy taking a nap in his bedroom.
There's two scenarios here. Either you have to believe that Jim Acosta is a complete moron, barely functioning as a human being.
Probably had a lobotomy.
Or he thinks his audience is equally as stupid.
Right, yeah, so that's the question, yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, certainly the, not to disparage chairs in airport lobbies, but it's possible that his audience is that dumb. I don't know.
A large portion of them do not actually have human brains; they are cloth and metal.
Yes.
So it's
yeah. So it's So that's which I should go find that because the new press secretary, I forget what her name is, but she just ripped him up and down that he's so dumb for thinking that. But yeah, so basically, again, like. You guys saw that video. There's obviously a campaign ad. It is a little bit long form, and it was kind of a similar gist to the previous video where it showed, the false framing that goes on in the media quite often. But just Acosta, it's so meta because he false framed a video about him false framing. It's just I can't even. I don't know how these people like tie their shoes in the morning. I just don't know what. Yeah, it's like you said though, Dyer. Does he believe that, or does he believe he can get other people to believe that? And if he does believe that he can get other people to believe that, is that because he can?
Yeah, I think that it is just you should be able to look at this scenario and look at those 3 examples we've given, and see that, and plus all the many other times we've called out CNN for lying or misleading or whatever. It's obvious that CNN cannot be trusted, and they are only putting out a like bizarro world view of what's going on in reality, and it can whatever they say is a high chance it's not real. But we have another example from CBS because CNN is not the only one who has cornered the market. They haven't cornered the market on not being able to produce real news and just lie to us constantly. CBS has done a fairly good job of that as well. Where is that example? I think I lost it. Shit, I had it up a bit ago. God damn it.
You could have put it in the notes.
I could have put it in the notes, but then it would have been easier to find. And
Dyer loves a challenge.
Here it is. Okay. CBS published a story that said deputies kill half-brother of black man found hanged in park.
Send me that so I can pull it up on the screen.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that. So yeah, cops shoot half-brother of black man. Jesus Christ.
All right, so if you actually read the story though, we put the first picture and I'll read the second one. This is from the article. So detectives with the sheriff's major crime unit were tracking a man who was wanted for kidnapping, spousal assault, and assault with a deadly weapon. But when they tried to stop his car, he opened the door and began shooting.
Wait, are you telling me that the police did not, after finding a hanged black man, they're like, well, let's hunt down his brother and finish the job? That's not what happened? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. This wasn't like a lynching, as the title would imply. So everything in the title there is technically true. The deputies did kill the half-brother of a black man who was found hanging in a park. That is all technically true. But the real story, the real story that is not captured by their framing of said story, is that a violent criminal was stopped by police officers helping protect the community, and he started a gunfight with them. He shot at them, and the police officers shot and killed him in self-defense. That's, I guess, far less of a clickbaity title. So of course they're not gonna put that there, but it definitely is gonna, like, a lot of people are gonna read this title and they say, without having actually read the article, like, yep, more racist cops. God damn them! I'm gonna go burn down a Wendy's.
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, there was, like, the Nazis had propaganda ministries, right, to try and gin up support of the Germans against the ethnic Germans against the non-ethnic Germans, and I mean they had departments that tried to do this. Well, all the communist regimes did. It was just more obvious because they were more clear-cut statist run media agencies. But like, what is this? I mean,
so every totalitarian and communist regime has figured out that they can avoid a lot of the dirty work of suppressing their political rivals or dissidents by just controlling the information and producing propaganda, and then having the people in the population do those crimes for you. Like Hitler, a lot of the violence done against Jews was done by the state, but a lot of it was done by average people.
So that's what the left always accuses Trump of. It's like, oh, Trump's dog whistling to try and get the white nationalists to go out and murder people. What is this? What is this? Is this a dog whistle? I barely recognize it as such because I'm not actually a racist like the lefts are. But I mean, certainly that seems like a dog whistle to try and convince people to go out and be like, oh yeah, the cops are out there. One of them. Yeah, because you actually have this as an ideology in BLM, is one of ours, two of theirs. Somebody's going to look at this and be like, oh, they got one of ours. Maybe we should go find two of theirs. And there's enough people that saw this that I'm sure somebody thought that.
And what this represents to me is one of the many causes of why there's a lot of police officers being attacked right now. Being a police officer was already a dangerous job, but then when you have a large portion of the community brainwashed into thinking that just because you wear the uniform, you are a racist monster that's going to try and kill your children, that's why people, mostly in the Democrat cities, are going out and just assassinating police officers. And not only are these police officers under direct threat from the nutcases who've been brainwashed by stories like this every fucking day, spreading lies and to the point where they believe that all police officers are monsters. But on top of that, their own government leaders are not supporting them, or are actually prosecuting them, willing to put them in jail or threaten them with the maximum penalty of death sentence for doing their job honorably. So a lot of police officers are quitting. And there's no wonder.
This is day 3 of Blue Flu in Atlanta, and their murder rate is like off the charts. Their crime rate's off the charts. And you know what? It is, the citizenry is fully capable of at any point in time doing recalls. All these cities, not just Atlanta, all these cities, all these states, even in Michigan. You got the governor and all that stuff. All these governors in California, all these cities, they all have the ability to immediately do recalls. If you are dissatisfied with how your city government in Atlanta is treating the cops to the point where all the cops just left, well, why don't you go out there and do a recall? Let's see some signatures. Let's see some recalls being declared sometime this week, and then maybe I bet you could get some of the cops to come back if you had a recall. If all of a sudden there was a mass recall of the whole city council, of the mayor, of the prosecutors and the DA, I bet you could get the cops to come back real quick. If the city said, hey, you know what, we screwed up the last election, we much apologize to our civil servants. Let us try and fix what we did wrong at the ballot box last time, and we promise to do better next time. Please come back to protect us. I bet you could get those to come back, get those guys to come back, and I bet you could do the same thing across the country here. And we talked about that a while ago. We talked about that when this started off. To the extent that you want to feel bad for these cities, I don't feel that bad if I'm not seeing these recall votes come out. They voted for that to start off with. Those are the elected representatives. Those elected representatives are supposed to be representing the will of the people. And so if the cops think that if the cops are being proven that the city officials essentially hate them and are trying to put them to death, that the only thing that they could possibly think of that is that's what the citizenry voted for. So I'm not going to work today. But you can change it. They can change all that by doing some recalls.
Yep. I don't know if I were a police officer or had been a police officer, I obviously would have quit by now. I wouldn't come back. there are communities out there in Middle America where they love their police officers, where they're honored, the statues that honor the officers who have died in the line of duty. Those statues are not destroyed, not defaced like they were in New York, right?
Yeah.
And sorry, that was Minneapolis. I apologize. So, I mean, these people are going to get what they want. They're going to have no policing, and even when the police, if they do come back, it's going to take a very long time for them to build up the police department the way it was, because they're going to have far less staffing, far less funding, and far less support. So they're not going to be functional for a very long time because of this. And you know what that means? That means that the community that asked them to leave is going to suffer far, far, far more deaths and lack of justice than any lack of justice that was caused by bad cops. More people will die because of the lack of cops. More people will be raped, assaulted, have their property destroyed, and will have no recourse because there will be no one investigating, no one upholding justice.
Well, Dyer, how you don't know that that's what would happen?
It's already happening.
Oh, is it? Is it? Do we have any examples of a community that's attempting to try to figure out what happens when you get rid of cops? I mean, are you sure that there's going to be more murders and rapes? Do we have any examples of this?
I don't know. Can you think of any examples? Just like throw something off the top of your head.
Let's see. Maybe. Oh, the Chaz or the Chop.
Chaz
or the
The
Purge.
Chaz.
Which happens to be our next story. Perfect segues here. So yeah. Yeah, we're the Chop and the Chaz, kind of just flowing the conversation right into this. The Chop and the Chaz, or whatever the hell they want to call it. I think it's the rape party. Is the summer of rape. That is giving us a little slice of what these cities are going to look like when they've completed their purge of the cops, when they've completed defunding the cops and getting them out of there, or chasing them off and having all the cops resign. Because I think you're going to get a lot of these big cities. If Atlanta's any indication of that, you're probably going to be getting a lot quicker having these cops walk off the force en masse. You're not even going to have to defund them. Like, you won't even have time to, because they're just going to leave. Certainly seeing that in other cities too. But the Chaz gives us a little taste, a little preview of the future as to what is in store for these cities when the cops are all gone. Dyer, what happened this weekend in the Chaz? Was it, the Summer of Love? What happened in the Summer of Love block party, as the Seattle mayor put it?
Well, instead of parties and art and dance, we actually had people dodging bullets.
Oh, no.
Or actually not dodging them very well. So Seattle police said that a violent crowd prevented them from reaching 2 shooting victims. So there was a shooting in the Chaz, in addition to all the assaults and the rapes.
Was it a peaceful shooting?
It was definitely a peaceful shooting. I hear that they weren't hollow points, so they were bullets of peace. And when these bullets of peace entered, the protesters / CHOP residents' bodies, they started bleeding out for some reason. I don't know. It must be a side effect of all the love.
Was it a peaceful bleeding out?
Peaceful bleeding out. And the police tried to enter with riot shields to go collect the victims, to go take care of them, and also possibly find the people who shot them. But they were stopped by an angry crowd of CHOP residents who would prevent them from getting in. A video of the incident shows that 8 officers entered the area, some carrying shields. A protester yelled at them, saying, as one of the officers said, "Please move out of the way. We're just trying to get to the victim. All we're trying to do is get to the victim and provide aid."
And this happened, for reference, this happened in front of the liberated police station that the Chaz took over and the Seattle police had to abandon. So, had the cops been, occupying that police station, it makes you wonder if this would have happened or not.
I know the guy probably would have got to the hospital way faster had there been police there. So one of the victims got who was shot died. One of the other ones is in critical condition in the hospital.
Yes. And he actually he ended up getting to the hospital via a private car because the video that we're watching here, we're not listening to the audio because it's just it's actually Raz the Warlord. He's narrating here. He is pleading with the EMS to go into the riot zone to save his buddy because it's a black body. No, it's not his buddy. It's a black body. It's not a person. Raz is saying that you need to go save the black body because black people aren't people. They're just bodies that pull the lever for Democrats. But the EMS, they can't go in because, as Dyer was explaining earlier, the rioters and the revolutionaries chased off the cops. And the EMS is not trained. They're not war medics, as you were explaining. They're not meant to go into combat zones. They are not supposed to, and they shouldn't have to, go into a scene which is not secure. They're not meant to put their life in danger. They are meant to save your life. And so because the police could not secure the scene, they couldn't go in and wouldn't go in, and they absolutely shouldn't. They shouldn't have. It's not worth putting their lives at risk because these guys are a bunch of idiots who don't like the cops. And all they had to do was just say, you know what, we kind of screwed up here. You probably do need the cops. Please go save our buddy. And in this video, Raz is trying to explain to the EMS, no, don't worry, we'll protect you. Like they protected the guy that just got shot.
Right. So what they don't seem to understand is they've just spent almost a month now, right?
Yeah, like
destroying property, attacking people. Is it almost 2 months? What are you saying?
No, that's 2 weeks. Chaz is only 2 weeks old.
No. I'm not talking about the rioting in general.
The riots have been going on for a month. That was this month's thing. If we'll see if it continues on into next month.
Okay, so the riots have been going on for about a month of just wanton destruction, people being attacked, and particularly in Chop Chaz, there's been a lot of violence and a lot of threats, and there's those people who've been making those threats and committing those acts of violence are currently standing in front of them with guns. And they are wondering why these people are refusing to get out. After all that rhetoric they've had about wanting to get revenge on white people and against the system, why would this light-skinned guy, is he white or is his light-skinned? I can't really tell. Why would he want to get out of the vehicle and put himself in a dangerous situation? He doesn't have to. And he shouldn't. It's not his job.
Yeah.
Even a combat medic doesn't go in without support.
Yeah, it's Shadow Wolf's people in China are talking about, you put your own life as a rescuer, you're always supposed to put your own life first. Absolutely, was a trained lifeguard. And that was one of the first rules is, you don't go save somebody at the expense of killing yourself. Certainly don't go into a dangerous situation. There was a lot of examples of, different hazards that had you gone in to rescue somebody, you'd obviously be putting yourself at severe risk. And there was, that sucks for them was basically what happens there. And that's the same thing with the EMS. There's a lot of different stories. Shadow Wolf was saying he's got a story. There was a lot of different stories that pretty much have the same theme. There's a shooting victim in a city, and the EMS will come upon the scene, and they won't do anything because the scene isn't secure, and there's either people there, and they don't know if those people are the bad guys. They're trying to lure them in to rob them. They don't know what's going on. They always have to wait for the police to come in and secure the scene. Similar thing with firefighters, if they're going to be trying to do what they do, and the situation is that they're not sure if that's a safe place for them to be fighting fires at, they'll need the police to come by and secure the scene. And it's the way the system works. These communists and Marxists, they've got all these really fascinating ideas and using strange language to describe these theoretical systems that sound a lot like the civilization that we already created. This idea of a community-selected police that or this community-selected group that goes around and protects people. I was like, yeah, well, congratulations, you just invented the police. And they've got all these things that they've got these ideas for that we already have stuff for. We already have structures that are in place for that. Are they perfect? No, but in general, they're a lot better than just bleeding out in the street because you don't have access to medical stuff. It's actually funny too. You see in the video that we're not going to listen to again. It's just Raz just being an idiot on Twitter. If you guys really want to listen to it, it's not like that. He doesn't have anything profound to say. But at one point, he is yelling at the EMS that it's their job, their duty to go save the guy that got shot. And that kind of gins up this idea of, very much on the left, is that, medicine is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. And basically what Raz is doing right there is saying, this is my human right. You guys owe me healthcare. It is your job to serve me, which kind of sounds a little bit like slavery. And that point's been made before when the left talks about healthcare as a human right. Is, that kind of sounds like slavery, because you are talking about getting a service, extracting that from a real human being at a certain point. They're talking about trying to launder money through the state and stuff like that. But when you get it on this very small scale, and it really is, you're saying because you know how to do stuff, you are now enslaved to me, and it is my human right that you serve me in this capacity. And you can really see it when it's that small microcosm of what's going on.
What they don't understand is that medical treatment and medical services and emergency medical services, particularly good services, are uncommon in the world. And they are not a right. They are a nicety that exists because of our system of government and our society being the way it is. But what they're trying to do is break down the society that allows for such services to exist, and then they act surprised and indignant when the society they're trying to break down doesn't provide the service that is dependent on that society. It is crazy.
And that's really the point, isn't Howitzer? Howitzer says, yeah, Fox, but they want to be the ones who get to order them around. And that's exactly right. That's why you see these strange ideas that they're coming up with for how a society should be structured look a lot like the society that we already have. The only difference being is that they're the ones in charge of it. And that's really the whole point of this, right? That's the whole point of Marxist revolutions, is it's not necessarily a problem with the system. It's the problem that you're not at the top of the system. That's always been the Marxist ideology that all of these things are based off of, is that, well, the people at the bottom, they got to be at the top. And then, you just kind of flip that board over every few years, and there you go. But it's not about, because you see that with historically with all of these nations that had a Marxist core to their revolution, is when they flipped over after the revolution, it was just as bad, if not a lot worse than the previous system. It's just that they had a new set of leaders. And that's what we're seeing here in the Chaz, and that's what we saw, the first few nights with Raz, is, it was Raz saying, I'm the police now, I've got the guns. And it wasn't that he didn't like the police, it was that he didn't like that he wasn't the police.
Right. So it's not about, all this is about is power. But for people like Raz, it's that they want there to have different minority groups to have power, which is in itself a racist argument.
Yeah, they light news. This isn't supposed to be like a news segment on the Chaz, but like a light update on the Chaz is that their elected government that they have is going to have racial quotas. They're not going to be electing, your geographic district. They're going to be electing representatives from different racial groups. Doesn't matter how many members of that racial group are present. They have specific slots for specific racial groups, and actually even within that, subdivided by orientations and then identities too. This is going to be a really complicated Congress. Eventually they'll probably get to the point where they have to subdivide it so much that it's actually just a democracy where everybody has to individually represent themselves. That'd be nice.
Circle back around to democracy. Sorry. It's probably true.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's interesting, too, because it's kind of like they're almost like reinventing the Republic, but bad. Like the idea of the Republic was that your geographic distribution was more important as a proxy for what your beliefs and intent was. You know, your intent and beliefs would probably be better approximated by your geographic distribution of like who your neighbors were, rather than saying, well, we need to have different races be in Congress. That would be the idea here, is saying like, well, your geographic distribution probably doesn't have anything to do with what you believe. You probably don't believe the same thing as your neighbor, which is I don't think that's a better way of doing it, but they're trying to reinvent the republic, but badly. They tried to reinvent the police, but badly. They're trying to reinvent farming, but badly. And they're trying to reinvent taking too long on a story, but badly. Your time.
Speaking of taking too long on a story, let's move on to the next one.
All right. So, should Mississippi change their flag? Dyer, what is the history? Actually, that's my part. What is the history of the flag of Mississippi? I asked myself because it's my turn first. In 1861, the Confederate-occupied Mississippi, which is how Lincoln viewed it, declared a secession from the Union. Because it wasn't Mississippi that actually seceded. It was occupied Mississippi that attempted to secede, but Lincoln did not accept it. Obviously, the story is about Mississippi's flag, which, if you guys did not know, I actually learned that this weekend. Mississippi's flag has the Confederate flag embedded into it.
Yeah, I actually was surprised when I saw that, and I thought, there's no way. There's no way. But I was wrong. So during this time, after the reunification, they used the Magnolia flag? Magnolia flag, sorry. Wow. Though this is not official. In 1894, the flag that we see today, which incorporates the Confederate battle flag, was the Tennessee Confederate Army battle flag, not all of the Confederacy. It was a particular army group that had that flag. I just want to specify that. Yeah. So one army group from Tennessee, that flag from the battlefield flag was incorporated into the Mississippi flag, was commissioned and officially enacted in law as an official flag in 1894.
So in 1906, again, the current Mississippi flag is the top right. The other one with the star field on it, that one is a proposed flag, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So in 1906, 12 years after they adopted that flag, Mississippi as a state adopted a revised legal code that basically scrapped all of their laws and started the state out from scratch. Any existing laws from before the revised legal code that were not specifically addressed in the revised legal code were considered to be nullified, which is something that we should. That would be great to do at a federal level. We need to do that. A lot of your states will probably have a revised legal code. A lot of states did that. But among the laws that were not mentioned in the 1906 revised code was the law that designated the flag as the official state flag. Though this was an accident and it was supposed to be included, but it wasn't included, and everybody just thought that it was included, and so they didn't realize that they undid the flag as the official flag of Mississippi, and so everybody just thought that it was, and they continued using it as though it was the state flag, even though they accidentally deleted that law.
What a wacky
fucking
thing
stupid.
To happen.
Dummies.
Wow. Okay. So in 2001, the Mississippi State Supreme Court realized the error. That took a while.
Yeah, it was 96 years. Like, oops, that was a mistake.
And confirmed that the flag was not the legal flag of the state. The then governor appointed a commission to develop a new flag design and propose it to the public. The state referendum on the flag was issued, and the state voted 64% to keep the 1894 flag.
Yeah, so the other flag on here was the one that was proposed, which I think is a pretty nice flag.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually have no strong feelings either way, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't live in Mississippi. That's up to them. They decided. That's up to them.
That's your flag. It's whatever you want to represent your country. I mean, better than California. And now we have to deal with it. Great job, guys. We have to deal with this flag because that's what you wanted. Well, sorry, you guys have to deal with it. I don't live there. Fuck you guys.
No, but don't you realize, Tyre, it's collective guilt. You have to take responsibility for it.
Nope. So the question is, should they change it? Now, a lot of people have assigned meaning to the Confederate flag, a racist meaning, and that's why there's such strong feelings about it. I don't have that meaning in my mind when I see that flag. Personally, I think it's silly that people, like everywhere, who are not part of the Tennessee Confederate Army or have any family members that were in it, I find it strange that they are carrying around that battle flag. It'd be like me carrying around patches from another military unit as a flag on like my car or my house and stuff. And
it would be like if 300 or if like 100 years from now, like the American flag was just like the patch for the 82nd Airborne. It'd be like, why? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like in my wife's country where a lot of people love America. They decorate their houses with American flags, and I asked why. And they're like, "What do you like America?" Like, but why don't you just put like your own flag? I mean, I don't have a problem with this, but it's like, think it's strange. I wouldn't put up a flag from your country in my house.
Well, yeah, because their country kind of sucks. America's kind of great, right? I was debating somebody on Twitter about this. Well, I didn't debate them. I was just harassed them and ran away. That's how you do Twitter. Is it? Twitter's guerrilla warfare.
You're doing Twitter right.
Yeah, but they were saying something to that effect about like not understanding like why there was this fascination with the American flag and not other countries' flags, and I was like, well, probably because those countries are shitholes and didn't actually accomplish anything to be proud of. Yeah, that's what he was saying. He's like, I don't understand why people are so proud of the American flag. Like, there's other flags, like the other countries don't have like that much pride in their flag. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, their countries suck and they haven't done anything that's worthy of being prideful of. America, for as much as the left wants to hate it, you got a lot of countries where they have the problems that we fixed over the last 200 years. Yeah, it took 200 years to fix them, but we did. Meanwhile, the rest of the world has just continued on as though it's the 1700s, and a lot of their the way their societies and governments and legal apparatus are set up, very focused around racial groups. And so you got a lot of these people all around the world looking at, obviously everybody wants to come to America. That's the funny thing is America, or the left says America is so racist, yet all the various races of the world would love to be here because they know the truth that it's far better here.
Well, you're forgetting, Fox, about hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy? The chat is just tearing me up because I got my left and right mixed up. I said that the top right was the current Mississippi flag and is clearly on the left. So my bad guys.
Well, you should never be forgiven for this. This error.
I shan't be forgotten. So you don't think that they should change it?
So no, I think that they can if they want to. I just don't think that the reason they change it should be because of the protests. I think that it should be a great flag.
It should be a vote.
I would change it personally, but I don't want it to be changed because of riots.
Yeah, I think I should do what they did last time. Put it up to the vote. If it's the states have Nick's Radio just followed us. Thank you. The states are they have sovereignty. They have sovereignty within the union. That was what was intended. I know that we've kind of forgotten that along the way, but it is up to the Mississippi state. If the people vote to change it, I fully support it. If the people vote to keep it, I fully support it. I see. I would think it immoral for my state to claim some kind of supremacy, even moral superiority over Mississippi and force them to change their flag. And I think it would be immoral for my state to do that alone. I think it'd be immoral for the other 49 using the federal government to force them to change it. And I think it would be illegal for the Mississippi leadership as it currently has been elected to just change it outright without consulting the population once more.
One thing I will say, though, is if they chose to, not change it. I'm not going to make the assumption that it's because of racism.
Yeah.
I think that there are reasons why someone who might want this flag and not be a racist. I wouldn't want to have this flag because I think it's stupid.
Do you know who should change their flag though?
Who?
Fucking Ohio. Look at this stupid thing. It's not even a rectangle. It's got all this
What the hell?
It's the only flag that is not a rectangle. It is. I don't even know what that shape is.
This offends me.
What is this shape? No one knows. It costs so much more to make it because it's not a proper shape. It folds weird. It's awful. Like the American flag, and I assume the states flags too. You can do the triangle fold because you can put it into a triangle.
Yeah.
You can't triangle fold this because it's inconsistent width. What is it? It's awful. Ohio, change your flag. It's dumb. It's stupid.
What's wrong with you?
We don't like it. It's unnecessary. It's an acute trapezoid. Technically, it's a pentagon. That's a duck fox. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. That's good help in the chat. This is stupid. God damn it, Ohio. What's wrong with you? It's far more offensive than the Confederate flag.
Yes, it is. It's probably racist too.
Did you know that was Ohio's flag?
I did not know that. I am upset by
Yeah,
this.
it's actually that shape. It's stupid. Alrighty. So
Why?
I don't know. Alrighty. So chat. We're gonna move on to the next story, but let us know in chat what you guys think. Let's do R's for keep the flag, and then anime titties for new flag. I just picked a random letter. All right, our next case though, our next story. Wow, words. Even worse than the flag of Ohio is
even worse.
Even worse. Jussie Smollett, who lives in MAGA country.
He proved that the race situation in America was so good that he had to pay someone to be racist to him.
Yeah.
He couldn't even hire a white person to do it. He had to hire two black guys to do it. And of course, it was two black guys because you need two to do the job of one white dude, apparently.
Well, you can't pay a white person to be racist these days. I think that's like a real person. I don't think that's anime titties. Dyer, you can't look at those.
I definitely can.
I stand corrected. So, Dyer, what happened with Jussie Smollett this week? Other than not that I don't mind just pulling him up to laugh at him and move on, but did something happen to him that we should bring?
Yes.
We should talk
So
about?
Jussie Smollett has spent way more money than he originally spent to have a hate crime committed against him.
It was a bad investment, you're saying?
Yeah, he spent way more money actually in his legal defense trying to have those charges thrown out. He's still been in a constant legal battle, and his most recent appeal to have the charges against him thrown out, and these charges are, making false statements to police, which he did multiple times, as well as having to pay back the cost to the city of Chicago for all the investigation based on what he knew was a lie. He was trying to have these charges dropped, and a judge has rejected his appeal. And the funny thing was, in the rejection of the appeal or the response to it, what's her name? Fox, the attorney that
Kimberly Fox, I believe.
Yeah, Kim Fox.
Fox.
The state attorney that originally had dropped the charges against him in return for him not admitting fault, but doing some community service, which was nothing basically. That Kim Fox, who was later relieved from the case because she was not handling it legally. She says that the issue with Smollett was just a prank, bro.
Oh no, that kind of accidentally admits fault, right? Because I thought his whole position was that he didn't do it. It wasn't a hoax. But if you're gonna say it's just a prank, like if you're switching your defense to just a prank, then you've kind of conceded that you did do it. Uh-oh. Does he not know the Fifth Amendment? Do his lawyers not know the Fifth Amendment?
So, yeah, the funny thing is that, she's kind of admitting that she knew, or that she accepts that he was lying the whole time. But he's been trying to maintain his innocence, but the evidence against him is pretty concrete. He definitely did lie about this shit. But she was like, oh, there's a bunch of homicides going on in the area.
No, Dyer, what does it say? Read that word. What is this? What does the quote say?
She said, we have an abysmal homicide clearance rate. We have horrible violence, and attention is on this case about a low-level offense with an actor who pulled a prank.
Just a prank, bro.
Just a prank. No, I think she's right. Chicago does have a lot of violence and a lot of unsolved homicides. And, it's probably because of the Democrat leadership.
I think I had 27 or 37 this weekend. Like, this was, like, another record-breaking weekend. I just don't understand how there's people left in Chicago. Like, I fundamentally, like, I just don't understand how, like, where do you get 6,000 or 7,000 people to kill every year? Like, no joke. I mean, you're talking about whole neighborhoods. I don't know. Like, this is like a totally like an aside. It is mind-boggling to me that you can just have 6,000 or 7,000 people die every year in a city for 30 years. Like, at some point, you run out of people. Like, it's baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. Continue.
No, you're right. It's amazing they still have any people left to kill.
Yeah, I'm not being like facetious or like ironic. Like, it's actually like insane. I mean, like you kind of think about like wars and like especially like World War II and just kind of like the mass slaughter of various baddies. But, just the industrial scale of how much murder there was. And, in supposed peacetime, like an American city has just got this, like, ridiculous churn rate. And I just cannot wrap my head around it. It's outrageous. But, again, like what she's saying is, there's an abysmal homicide rate. And, we're spending much time focusing on an actor who pulled a prank. Well, I tell you what, because this happened... last year, right? This was 2 Januaries ago, wasn't it? Yeah. This was certainly, the media ran with this for more than a month before we found out that it was confirmed to be a hoax. And that was a lot of damage done to race relations. Certainly the Jussie Smollett situation, you rode that on top of the Covington kids, which they ran with for a long time. I mean, those are some of the highlights for the most severe race relations strains that the media perpetrated, these giant race hoaxes. And Smollett, I mean, certainly what's happening now, I don't think that there's any one incident that you pull out of. You look back the last 5 years of these racial hoaxes. I don't think that there's any one of them that if you pull it out of history, all of a sudden, like what's happening now just doesn't happen. I think that this was bound to happen anyways, just from all the other ones. Certainly, if you pulled out all the race hoaxes from history, we wouldn't be here now. But Smollett, certainly, he was, Tim Pool's been saying, well, the snowflakes don't blame themselves for the avalanche. Smollett was a giant goddamn snowball on the avalanche that we're in right now. And he might not have set it off, but he certainly got a huge contribution to kind of pulling back that rubber band of race relations that just kind of snapped back and smoked us all in the face these last few weeks. He played a really big role in setting up tension for that.
Agreed. So I hope he does get what he deserves for having, slandered the United States, basically. and spent a lot of police resources, wasted police resources when they could have been actually spending. You know what? Maybe you have a high homicide rate, unsolved homicide rate. Maybe you have all these crimes not being solved because we have people like Smollett wasting times on things that aren't actually crimes. How many people could have been helped in the time that they were going out, chasing after his false story?
I believe we went over that. There was, I believe we had done some kind of analysis on how many murders there had been, like in the time since he had, like while they were investigating him. I believe that was something that you covered at one point, and it was a lot. Yes. It was just, jeez. If there was only some way to hold these people accountable, which, I mean, for him, like, there's not going to be any way of, like, holding him accountable for all the stuff that's happening right now, but certainly he helped perpetrate some of that, set up the tension for that, but there needs to be very heavy held to account on false police reporting and just waste of department resources.
Yep, agreed. All right,
but the judge didn't accept that, right? So he that's the story. Is that they were trying to say that it was just a prank, and then the judge did not accept that it was just a prank. Correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So they are going to continue marching forward. Yeah, I hope they tear you apart, buddy. Alrighty.
Yep.
Well, you guys know what time it is. It's that time. What time is it, Dyer?
Time for YouTube to get out of here.
Get good, YouTube. Go over to dlive.tv/direwolf, and you can watch us on DLive. You can also watch us on Twitch, but I don't know what the address for that is. Links are down in the description below, and I also put a link in the YouTube chat. Head on over. It's not as bad as you think. Chat's fun. We're over there, and we got a bunch of fun stories to talk about. Actually, they're awful stories, but we'll be talking.
That's why they're not on YouTube.
Well, yeah, we will be talking about them on DLive. So, see you, YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.